Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Business Talk, a podcast presented by Business West and sponsored by Greenfield Cooperative Bank. We have a great show for you today. Our guest is Ayanna Crawford. She is the president of AC Consulting and Media PR firm. And I'm so happy to have you here on the show. It's been such a big year for you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here with all your great listeners, and certainly thank you for the sponsor for this opportunity to share a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, there's like so much to go over. Our magazine just honored you as one of the Women of Impact for 2025. That's super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Oh my God, that was an amazing experience. Your whole team was amazing. I mean, down to the decor, down to how we were, just all the fun things that we were able to do prior to the actual event. It just made everything just so seamless, and it was just a great event. And I met so many wonderful women. I'm so honored to be a part of the class of 2025 Women of Impact. And it was just an amazing event. I was just so honored to have my son there with me, friends and family. It was just great.
As someone who wrote the story about you and has written about you multiple times, I'm inspired by you and the rest of the class. So that was great. It was a great experience for me too. So.
Oh, it was. I mean, I adore, as she and I call ourselves sister friends. We affectionately known each other as sister friends, and LaTonya Monroe Naylor is just a superstar here in the Bay State and all over Western Mass. And I'm just honored that she thought enough of me to make that consideration and nominate me. So
we'll talk a little bit later about another connection you have with LaTonya, but. Most recently, you were sworn in as a school committee member in Springfield. Tell me about that, why you pursued that, and tell me, really about your background in education, which I know is fairly robust.
Yeah, so thank you so much for lifting that up, and I'm certainly honored and humbled by the thought that the voters here in Springfield saw fit to vote for me. And I always say 1,213 did, and I thank each and every one of them for doing that. And so, I spent many years here in Springfield as an educator, as a after-school program director, as a creating my own program around youth. And, have had a fond love for Springfield and Springfield Public Schools. And someone mentioned to me one day that, why don't you run for school committee? That wasn't necessarily in my foresight. I didn't see that, because I've always done community and I've always been an educator. I've always helped our community. And I just thought that doing what I've been doing is just enough. But they said, well, you should make a consideration. So I thought really hard about it. I actually had a conversation with my mother, my dad, and they said, why not? And so in 2021, I launched the first campaign to run, and unfortunately, we were shy of the victory, but I decided to stay connected and stay plugged in and stay committed to if this was something that I wanted to continue to pursue. And so in 2025, we decided to launch again, and the voters said what they said, and they wanted to see me in that role, and they voted me in. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate my community, my supporters, my team, anyone and everyone that had a part in making it happen, because I never say that this is something that I've done alone. Sure. I've done this collectively with so many other people that I probably don't even know all the things that they did behind the scenes for me. And I certainly am humbled enough and smart enough to know that you don't get anywhere alone by yourself.
Oh, definitely. Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
What are some of your goals or your vision for your role in the committee? What are some of the issues that you're dealing with?
Yeah, so, as a former educator in our schools, and of course, dealing with the pandemic as we did, we saw a lot of things around social, emotional, and mental health supports. And so on the campaign, I really drove that home to say, what are we doing first? And then how can we extend those programs? And I know Springfield Public Schools has a robust appetite to really helping our students around social, emotional, and mental health supports. They do really good, but how can we do even more? And so my thought was, what other things do we need? And so I got a chance to talk to the voters. They shared with me what they want and what they would like. And so I'm hoping to bring those ideas to the forefront to our superintendent. In addition to that, I know that our community also talked about our schools and the infrastructure. And that was a big thing as well. And so got a chance to talk with our mayor, who is very committed to making sure that we upgrade our schools, and I'm excited about that, and willing to work with him and the other school committees on making those things reality.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning. Tell me about your, and you've told me this story a couple of times, and I just love it. But tell me about how your early years of your career in the public school system, and how that led to something called Take the Mic.
Absolutely. So, I always tell the story in two parts. So one is, of course, being an educator in Springfield Public Schools, we don't necessarily teach public speaking like a core course, but we do teach public speaking, right? And I always tell people that because in our language arts, our reading classes, we're doing that always. We're always doing it. Everybody. Sure. We're always talking about something. But my daughter in third grade, she came home and she was crying, and she felt really nervous and shy to present her information to her classmates, to her teachers about her report or what have you. And so I said to her, why don't we try to do it at home together? I'll give you some tips or some skills to, fortify you so you can do it really well. And I'll ask your teacher if you can come back and do it again. Asked the teacher. She said, absolutely. My daughter went back to school and presented. She did a really phenomenal job. I was so pleased that she used some of my skills Definitely. And strategies that I gave her. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder if there's other students or girls her age that might be challenged by public speaking. And we know that 75% of the world's population is afraid of public speaking. And that number is also high for our students in schools as well. And so I created it in 2014. It's Your Turn, Take the Mic program. And it was just supposed to be a one-day program, a one and done. And we had about 50 girls that attended. It was a wonderful program. We had guest speakers. We did different classes around public speaking. It was really nice and received really well. And again, it was just a one and done. And the parents said, oh, do you have an after school program? Where can we find this program at? I said, that wasn't the plan in my mind, right? And so it took me 2 years to sort of come back, develop a curriculum, think thoughtfully about what this would look like. How can we get girls and youth engaged? Because we know young people, this was like the beginning of, the internet, social media. So who's going to really come to a class on public speaking when they could be on social media, right? Instagram and TikTok. So I was competing, right, against those things. Different times. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try. And unbeknownst to me, I went ahead and spoke to the then executive director of Dunbar, LeVar Click, who is a very good dear friend of mine. And he said, whatever you want to do, just let me know. We'll open up then the Dunbar to the program. And so we launched our first ever summer enrichment program for 6 weeks on Saturday from like a 1 to 4. And we had about 20 girls that attended. Not only did they attend one session, they attended all 6 sessions, and I was surprised to see each and every one of them come back. I was like, you really like this program? They're like, yes, miss, we love it. So that began, us, and we have thus partnered with Springfield Technical Community College for the last 6 years. We host, through their College for Kids program, our Take the Mic program. We've been doing that for 6 years. People call me every year, is the program coming back? Are you doing the program? Yes, we're doing the program. We've connected with Springfield Public Schools. We hosted Take the Mic as a workshop and as a program at a few schools in Springfield. We've also hosted a after-school program at the East Springfield Library, which they're always calling me, are you coming back for the after-school program? So they really loved it too. And we're just excited that the program is latching on. It hasn't really died down. And we're going into our 10th year coming up in October. So we're hoping to do something nice and special for the community.
And there's a lifelong impact to this. I mean, these are skills that help to do better in school, in college, just be confident on the job. I mean, these are skills that you can really kind of create a better life for you. It's got to be gratifying to have that kind of impact.
It is. And, and some of our alumni that have called back or sent us letters saying that, they were so, it was so helpful for their college interviews, for their job interviews, just in communication, networking, once they got a job, being able to feel comfortable to talk to people in person, so yeah, the skills are very valuable, and the students always tell us how important they were now, although some of them probably didn't realize that when they were taking the class because their moms and dads said, yes, you're taking this, right? So, but I think they realized afterwards that it was helpful, and we did have a couple of them come back and work in the program too in the summer. And so they're just elated that they can do that and they can help other girls.
You're listening to Business Talk, a podcast presented by Business West and sponsored by Greenfield Cooperative Bank. We're talking today with Ayanna Crawford. She's the president of AC Consulting and Media PR firm. It seems like everything I want to talk to you about today takes a little bit from your educational background. Mm-hmm. Tell me about parent villages. That's something that you or in Latonia Naylor started. What year was it?
Yeah, so that was around 2018.
Okay.
It was around the time that Latonia, who also is a school committee woman, actually she's the vice chair of the school committee, brought an idea to myself, Cindy Gaynor Harper, Paige Monroe, about this notion that 7% of our students were prepared for kindergarten. And that was not a good statistic,
No.
and nor was it a good number. And so she said, why don't we just start an organization called Parent Villages? And so we said, absolutely. What do you need us to do? And so that first year, what we did, we wanted to be able to listen to the families and the parents. So we had listening sessions at libraries, at community centers, where we really kind of were thoughtful of really hearing from the parents, hearing from teachers even, and students about, what are their big picture moments in education? What are things that they'd like to see improve? How can we collaborate more? How can we get more parents in our schools? What do we need to do as parent villages to help sort of be the bridge? And that's what happened. And so now we are a 2-generational approach for our families, our children, our students, our community. And we are the premier organization that really not only deals with all of the family like as a unit, but we also bridge the gap with bringing in partnerships with community-based organizations, with different folks that are doing work that would benefit our families. And we've also created programming around it too as well. And most recently, in the last year, we opened up a building called the Parent Villages Nonprofit Center, whereby families, our staff can do programming, real programming that's lasting for families. So it's not just a one and done. We have program for our youth, program for our elders. We have a clinical piece there as well. We have victim advocate program. We have so many things that are beneficial for the community to partake in. And again, it was just by this one idea that Latonia had that our kindergartners were not prepared for school. And that became this whole opportunity to see a landscape and a beautiful, I want to call it mosaic of different opportunities to help families in different stages of life. And then, of course, help our students in different educational milestones that they have, and especially thinking about our kindergartners.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I know that the your business, AC Consulting and Media, that was born out of that started. The origins of it was came out of school as well.
It did, and it's a funny story I tell you. So because I had a really good sense of community at the time when I was a teacher, I always wanted to make sure I was bridging that gap too with education and our community, and not feeling like I've got to be in these 4 walls every day, but I can also support and be a part of our community. And so if we would have an open house or some sort of event, I was kind of like the go-to person to maybe help with getting the media there, or help with, sharing some information in the community about the events that we're having. And so I just took it and kind of started doing little things within the community to help the community get opportunities for media to show up, and then just our schools too as well. So I kind of wanted to make it where, schools were, more, implemented, if you will, and grounded in community too, so that it wasn't like a separate entity. It's like, oh, you go to school and I'm in the community. No, we're going to bridge those gaps and we're going to bring you guys together. So that's why it was important to have, the media show up at different events that we would have at our schools. And and thus I just thought it would be great to have a little consulting program or a consulting business for it.
Your clients are what, small businesses, nonprofits?
Yeah, there are nonprofits, there are individuals, there are new businesses, entrepreneurs, people that are looking for ways to promote their business, or get the media to be seen at their events, or to understand how do you speak to the media, how do you create a press release, how do you create a flyer. And so we kind of do those things. And I do that actually in all the roles that I do in my jobs. Yeah.
When I've written about you a couple of times now in Business West, I use the word elevates for the kind of work you do. But I'm not the only one, so I love this quote. And I thought it would be great. This is from Latonia Monroe Naylor. Oh. She was a Woman of Impact in 2024. She nominated you this year.
Yes, she was.
You joined this class, and this is what she said. And I just love this quote.
Thank you.
Ayanna doesn't seek recognition. She builds infrastructure, programs, relationships, and movements. She mentors emerging leaders, elevates marginalized voices, and constantly returns to the core question: what did I do for someone else today?
Oh my God.
I think that's great, and I just wanted you to what you think of that.
Yeah, every time I hear that, I get chills. And I get the one little teary eye that comes down and like, wow, she said that. Yeah. And so when I reflect upon those words, infrastructure, that's huge. That means I'm building like coalitions, right? I'm driving people together. I'm a bridge builder. And I'm not looking for that recognition. I'm looking about ways that I can serve better, right? And what does that look like for me? And so that's what I do. That old adage thing says, I'm old enough to know better, so I do better, right? And so I continue to think about that. It's never about me. And I always say to people, it's never about me. What can I do for you? Can I serve you? Can I help? What can I do? Because we're here for a glimmer of a moment, and that's it. And what would be my legacy? What would be my life that I lived? And I want it to be of service to others, regardless to your nationality, your religion, your ethnic background, your social and economic background, whatever it is that I can do to serve and to help, or to even be a bridge in helping to connect you to others that for whatever reason you aren't able to. I want to be that person to say, you know what, how can we build more, but how can we fundamentally build more together from a human perspective? Sure. Because we're here, we live here, we work here, we want good things for all families, for all people, and for me, it's important. I wouldn't want to see that someone I know struggling, and I know I can do something to help them. I wouldn't want someone to have a situation where if I can do something to correct it or change it, I want to be that person. And it doesn't matter what's going on with me. Don't worry about me. I got me. Some people say, well, you sure? You got so much going on. You're doing so much. Don't worry. I got me. I spend time taking care of me, and people might not know that, but I do. I have my own self-care regimen, and, I eat healthy, I work out, and, I take care of me, but what can I do? So that's important. So for Latonia to have that, those words that just are so impactful and so deeply profound for me, it's such a beautiful thing. And she's such a beautiful person anyway. I mean, she gives of her time. She gives of herself to so many people. I enjoy talking to her. Oh, my goodness. If I could run down the list, everyone would be like, oh, my God, she does all of that. Yeah, she does that and more. There's probably things that I don't even know that she does, but I'm so glad to be in spaces with her. So glad to do this work with her. So glad to be somebody that she thought enough of to make the consideration to nominate me, and for Business West to accept the nomination, because there's so many great women in Western Mass and in Springfield and all over the country that do great things. And I'm just honored to even be considered,
We love telling the stories and elevating, that's my word again,
Yes.
elevating those stories and those people.
Thank you.
You talk about service, and I'd be remiss to not mention that you're also the Chief of Staff to State Rep Orlando Ramos. Tell me about that work and how you're connecting to the community and what some of your priorities are in that role.
Absolutely. So, I do a lot of work around constituent services, and I really love that work. When we get calls from families around housing issues, around food insecurity, around unemployment issues, or just issues, whether it be mental health issues, or, families just not knowing who to call or who to talk to. I want to be that voice that says, you know what, we're going to figure this out together. Before you get off this call, let's make a plan. Let's see how I can help you. And I know Orlando's like, you can't save the world, but I try to. I really do. And there might be moments where I'm like, oh, I could do this. And I give the folks a call and I say, hey, listen, did you consider this? And they're like, no, we didn't. And try it and see if it works and call me back. And so I'm always thinking outside the box, because I want families to feel that, their state legislators, these offices are really for them, right? They voted for them to be there to represent them, and that's what they ought to be doing. And so I take that to heart, that, I wouldn't have a job if Orlando was not the representative, right? And so my job is to make sure that the constituents are being taken care of and that they know that they can find hope and some sort of relief from their legislators. Like, we're here to help them. And my role as Chief of Staff is an important role to help our families. And so I take it to heart. I really do. And I was thinking about someone the other day that called and says, I can't believe that, and crying, like bawling. And I'm just like, they don't know, but I'm like putting the phone on mute and I'm crying for them, right? And saying, wow, I didn't realize the impact that we're having is so immediate sometimes, And I'm not saying that, we can resolve everyone's issue. I'm not suggesting that, nor am I claiming that. But we try our best.
No, that's the definition of a representative. That's what,
right.
That's what the model should be. So
right.
people that have a voice through somebody who can actually make a difference. So I think it's great work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You were, we weren't the only ones that honored you last year. There was an award from the Springfield Symphony Orchestra as well. I forgot the name of the award, but it was a pretty great class of women.
It was, and so it was called I think it was Fearless Women or Women of
Yes, Fearless Women.
Yes, and so that was an extraordinary moment. I was up with the CEO for Caring Health Center. I was with the CEO of the WCA, Elizabeth, and so many other extraordinary women. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was just so tickled that I was here. And they're like, yes, you belong here. And so that was really, comforting to know that other people see me too.
I kind of want, we're getting to the end of this. That's why I was using that to lead into, what a year it was from that to Women of Impact.
Yes.
You were the co-MC of our 40 Under 40, so that's another elevation, helping to elevate these young professionals that we honor every year.
Yes.
Going into our 20th 40 Under 40 this year. That's so exciting. Just, you're being recognized in a lot of ways, and you're out there. But I know you're not doing it for your sake, and you're always constantly elevating the, the coalitions and the people you're partnering with, and just, but. Considering all that, like it's got to be gratifying to know that people are recognizing you for making a difference in a lot of different ways. It
is, and I always question that, and maybe that's just something I do. But I just say, well, wait a minute, did I do enough? Did I do enough? Did I do enough? I always say that to myself. Did I do enough?
Sure.
And if there's more to do, then I always say, then keep going, keep doing more. And I'm appreciative of the recognition. And I know there's other people that, ought to be recognized too, right? And so I also want to be that person that also looks to nominate other people too as well. So I will be doing more of that because I see...
And so should all of you. Nominate. It's important.
Absolutely. So that's what I plan to do as well. But, I love what I do. I love my city. I had a great mother who passed in 2018, and she instilled us, for myself and my siblings, service, helping others, and not looking for anything in return. And I learned that, in the beginning stages of my life. and also from my father too, and my entire family. My grandmother, whom I don't think that I mentioned
I
before,
don't think so.
but she was a nurse, and she was from Atlanta. She migrated to Springfield, and she opened the first known rest home for folks in Springfield, and it was on Acorn Street in the 1960s, 70s, 80s,
Wow.
and it closed in the 90s. She was a nurse, and what she wanted to do was she wanted to make sure that the elderly community had a place that was not necessarily um, like a nursing home, but more of like a home away from home. And that's what she did in the early 1960s. And I remember as a child helping her with that, like being the activities director or serving dinner or serving their lunch or doing bingo as they would do all
That
the
was a
time.
progressive model for back then. So
Yeah,
that's great.
right. And so her name was Mary Barksdale, and so I think about her and the work that I do, and so seeing her as a young child also made a big impression on me too.
You did mention her to me because didn't you start a scholarship program in her name?
So that was for my mom.
For mom. Okay.
Yes. So I created the scholarship for my mother.
Gotcha.
My mother was a nurse, and she passed away in 2018, and that's why I said, what can we do to kind of continue to think about nursing, because as we know, nursing has been a shortage
Sure.
for a long time, and why is that? So we wanted to make sure that we gave back, and so we give out 2 scholarships every year. Myself and my brother are the committee members, and we love it. And so I know this year we had someone that that we're going to be recognizing, and we're doing a little late just because of everything going on in the world. So we're actually going to do a double take. So we're doing one next month, and then we're going to do one when we officially do it, which is in August. And so we're excited to do it. And so, again, we just want to be able to give back in a way to help nursing students, because my mother was a nurse, and she believed that, we need to always think about the next generation. And so we've been doing this. We started it during the pandemic. So I want to say 2021, we officially launched the first one, and we did it virtually.
Yep. We were doing some virtual events back then too.
Yeah. So it was great.
I'll ask you one
Sure.
more question to close out, and it's kind of one I want to. It's I don't know if you let you tackle it. I mean, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much stress people have over whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, as somebody who's really out there making a difference, I mean, what advice would you give to somebody when they get kind of down and thinking, how much can I do in the world? What kind of difference can I make? I mean, how would you encourage them to sort of keep up the fight in whatever it is they're seeking to improve in the world?
Wow. That's a great question. And I think, that first of all, we should always take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others, right?
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
It's true.
So that we can be the best version of ourselves, right? And we want to make sure of that. That's the first thing. And then find out what drives you. What's your passion? What are the things that you love to do? And then seek those things out and start helping in those particular areas, whether it be in a food pantry, whether it be in helping in youth development, whether it be helping with the elderly, whatever it is, just find something that you're passionate about, that you want to serve in, and then do that. And you don't have to do it every single day. You don't have to do it every year, but maybe there's once a month where you're, like you mentioned, that you're just feeling a little down. Go help someone else. Because what it is, it'll brighten your day to see that smile or that next person feeling joy because you were able to help them.
That's great. You're the best. I love talking. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today.
Thank you.
And thanks all of you for listening to Business Talk, a podcast presented by Business West and sponsored by Greenfield Cooperative Bank. And I'm Joe Bednar, the editor of Business West. And we'll see you next time.